We present live in concert Dan Auerbach performing tunes from his brand new album called Waiting on a Song. Great to see you guys here tonight. So Dan is going to join us. We're going to talk a bit about the tunes, and then he and Pat are going to play a bunch for us. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Electric Lady Studios, Dan Auerbach.
Yes.
All right. Hi, Dan.
How you doing? Hello.
Happy birthday, one day late. That's going to be my opening line for everybody from now on. It was actually your birthday yesterday, so.
It was.
Yes. Dan, you've done a lot of work in this building over the years. What does it mean for you right now, on the heels of the release of this new record? What does it mean for you now to be at Electric Lady Studios?
I mean, it's exciting. I've done recording here. I've spent a lot of time here. Records that I made were mixed here. It just feels right to be here.
Mm-hmm. Dan, you are a guy who, as an artist, has great respect for the music that has come before. We talk to a lot of artists, and you'd be amazed at how many artists maybe are not necessarily like that. Of all decades, you have great respect for what's come before. I don't think that's ever played out quite to the extent that it has on this new album called Waiting on a Song, where you literally made like dreams come true in terms of reaching out and working with some of your favorite, musical heroes and legends. Dream come true stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I sort of, I've spent my life making records and always having a studio, and I built a studio 7 years ago, and it was before I even knew these guys, It's sort of like, it was like Field of Dreams, you know what I mean? Like, if you build it, they will come, and it's like, and it happened, and all of a sudden, I have all these guys in the studio who played on some of my favorite records of all time, The drummer from, Aretha Franklin's Natural Woman, and Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield, and Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, and he just, he's a phone call away, and all of the musicians sort of have that history. It's incredible. It really is incredible.
It's also important, too, though, to create a forum for this kind of music to be, air quotes here, preserved, right?
The thing that they do, I feel like it's not history so much. It's like, because people like Bobby Wood and Gene Christman, they were making pop records, but they were outside the box. They were hard to define. It was awesome. It was when, studios were really strong and everyone had their little clique that they made records with. And, I think they're still the same today. They're just as potent, I think.
You mentioned your studio,
yeah.
Easy Eye Sound. And that's a place. Talk about the Field of Dreams. That's a place.
That's the place. That's the field.
That's the field, right? That's the field in Nashville. So being in Nashville, making the studio happen, this all set the stage for this record and these songs, right?
Yeah. That it allowed us to. It was sort of last summer. I decided to stop touring. I had to stop. I had to take a little break. And as soon as I did that, I started writing, and I started doing it in a way that I'd never done it before. Nashville has this rich tradition of songwriting. And living there 7.5 years, I never even did it, So my buddy David Ferguson started to introduce me to some people, like John Prine and like Pat McLaughlin and Roger Cook and Larry Brown and just all these people who live in these dark little corners in Nashville. And from those songwriting sessions came the record. That was the birth of the record, really.
When you say there's a way of writing songs in Nashville, how is it different? So it's like it's 9 o'clock, you get a cup of coffee, and you go to work, right?
Yeah.
But work is writing songs.
Work is being creative. Yeah, it feels like cheating.
That's probably different than the ways you've done it before in the past.
I've never done it like that, ever. I always wrote in the studio, So writing was part of the creative process in the studio. It was never like a beforehand thing.
You mentioned John Prine. You co-wrote some songs with John Prine. Dwayne Eddy is on the record. And the song we've been playing a bunch on WFUV, Shine on Me, you just rang up a famous guitar player and said, "Hey, I'm hearing your sweet tone on this song. Will you play it will you play it on my record?" Tell us that story.
We cut Shine on Me, and I went back into the control room to listen, and I could hear Mark Knopfler's guitar. I could hear his thing that he does in the middle. It was right there, you know. And so I sent that song to my manager that night, and I said, "Can you please find Mark Knopfler's email?" Because I'd never met him, and I said, "Send the song to him and ask nicely," you know. And whatever he said, he sent the song back 2 days later with the guitar, and it was perfect. It was exactly what, and it sat right there, right in the middle where I heard it, you know.
It's great when a guy says yes, too, right?
Yeah, it was amazing, but it was meant to be, you know. I knew it, I felt it, like all these guys, meeting all these guys, and the way that they play, they're always just serving the song. And Mark Knopfler, I sent him this thing, and you know, some guitar players might be like, "Ugh, I'm gonna put a solo on it or something," and wank all over the song. He just played a rhythm part. He just did what the song needed. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, yep.
And I feel like he was part of the whole group. I mean, we all kind of were thinking the same way when we're working.
Lyrically, there's some gems on this album, Dan, and you can't help but think living in Nashville has inspired the next level lyrical stuff. Would you agree with that? Some of the emotional beauty in the way you sing, but there's just some lyrical gems across the album.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you work with people who have spent their lives, working on songwriting, it's hard not to be affected by that, you know. But we had fun every day, trying to make each other laugh and stuff, you know.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. John Prine wrote that line, and about a million other great lines like that. What was it like working with John Prine and writing songs?
It was great. I mean, he was John Prine. He's sitting right across from me with the guitar.
Did he say, "You want to write great songs, get a mail route," or anything like that?
No, he just starts singing.
Yeah.
And then he looks at you like, "What do you got?" Right? And I finished his sentence, and then we finished the song.
Wow.
And then we just kept doing it. But you know, we don't go very long before we go to White Castle. And we ride in John's. John always has a Cadillac with Vogues on the side. That's his thing.
Wow.
So
what color is his Cadillac?
He just got a new one, and I think it's like burgundy, with really nice rims. And he listens to a cassette tape that somebody gave him of Ernie Cato's radio show from New Orleans, from like 1986 or something.
It's a Cadillac with a cassette player?
On repeat. Yeah. It's a good, it's a really good ride.